So LinearB, my company, very data-driven company. The service and product that we provide is for engineering organizations to help them utilize their data better so that their engineering organizations can become more productive. And you being an engineering manager, I just got to ask you, what are the things that you measure around your team's performance, or how do you think about data with your team?
Yeah. And I'll start with that. I actually looked at your product. It looks very, very cool.
Thank you.
Love the integration with effectively their current work to expose metrics and to help bubble up how to improve. So it looks super cool. How I think about and how I view metrics. So I'll start with maybe what I think about. So what I'm a fan of the most is, and let me switch this, because when people say metrics, they often mean a very specific thing. Let me switch metrics to data or information, because that to me might be a little bit more accurate with how I think about it. My favorite thing is data from retrospectives. If you have an organization that has very good and informed, thoughtful, and transparent retrospectives, you can effectively take now what I will say are metrics that you can reflect on within those retrospectives, and to have your team of experts provide commentary and maybe some reflection on what those metrics mean. Because, a metric is a metric, right? Like I think Nicole Forsgren published a great paper called The Space Framework. I think it was other authors as well. And part of this space framework, she talks about kind of the pluses and minuses of certain metrics and how to think about metrics. So to me, I often am not looking at a singular metric because I'm managing 16 people. I'm trying to look at an analysis of the entire situation. And for that, I find kind of how can we get data or information out of our retrospectives to be almost the most beneficial. Other real metrics that I tend to think about are, I like lead time a lot. That has helped me a lot in organizations, kind of getting a feel for, okay, we have this piece of work we basically did. How long does it take us to get into production, right? What are these steps along the way that are hurting us? How can we simplify those? Where are developers' pain points in these? Another one that I love is like mean time to resolve. So I just want to know when someone hands us something, what's about how long it takes to deal with that thing. And again, you have to think about metrics in a complex way, because these things don't always indicate something horrible or something great, but they are very good lead indicators, I think, from my own experience.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you totally have the right mindset about it. Nicole is certainly one of the innovators, especially with the DORA metrics. You mentioned MTTR, mean time to restore, cycle time or lead time. These are all things that we provide within the LinearB product. But the one thing that I will take away the most that I wanted to comment on is around the retrospective. And you mentioned having a little more of a data-driven retro. A lot of teams kind of struggle to get to that point. And the one thing that I've seen from LinearB, teams that are using LinearB and using it for the retrospective, a nice thing is when you have data that's available to everyone on the team before the meeting starts, before you come into the retrospective, it allows the team to be on the same page when they come into the room.
Yeah.
And they can, of course, you can start talking about the data or the metrics.
Yeah.
But it's more productive because now if everyone's on the same page, you can start discussing and you can move towards solutions. What I see a lot of non-data driven retrospectives is two things. It takes the whole meeting just to get on the same page.
That's right.
And then usually there's not action items that can be validated the next meeting. So, I'm happy you brought that up. And that's something that I would encourage our audience. If you are thinking about utilizing data, bring it into your retros. It's a great place to start.
I'd love to even dive into that a little bit, because I would add to that. I would say platforms like LinearB provide what in Agile they call information radiators. So to your point, what I think should not be your information radiator is people. If you're waiting for people, that means you're waiting to attend that meeting to hear that person say that thing. You are waiting, let's use your example, right? I'm a developer on this team. I want to know how we're doing. Why am I having to wait till maybe the month end for a retrospective? Because then I'm going to have a lot of questions about the data before I want to talk about what we can learn from it. So things like LinearB can provide these platforms to just expose data and to give people ways of understanding progress as you're going along, even if it's not completely perfect, because of course, when you're going through a process, it's going to have different data when you're done, but it can provide great lead indicators. It can make it, you're exactly right, where you enter a meeting and you're not debating about the data itself. You're just debating about what to do with the data. So I completely agree.
Yeah. One thing that it's very important in LinearB is that data accessibility to all team members in real time. We talked about real time a little bit before, but that speaks to those leading indicators or data while the sprint is happening. What's going on? It kind of sucks to have to wait to the end or like a month to then get the data. And also I would just say the other thing that happens is there's a trust level and there's trust with transparency. When everyone has access to the same information, it puts everyone on a level playing field. So like for our customers, everyone within the engineering organization has access to the data. It's not just you come to the retro and you get the data. You can be following it through the entire sprint and, ideas will come up. Oh, okay. The data it could be confirming or denying what I was thinking during the sprint. And now I can bring that to the retro. Very important.
Totally agree.